Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've got a really clear mission. We're going to cut through all that technical jargon around cybersecurity and risk management.
Right.
Our goal is to give you a solid structural understanding of this field. It's absolutely vital. And this deep dive is really designed to make complex ideas clear so you walk away knowing the most important stuff.
That's exactly right. And, when you look at the sources we gathered, it's fascinating, this whole idea of protecting information. It's not new. It goes way back, ancient history, actually.
Wow, really?
Yeah. We're going to trace how people learned to keep secrets thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And how that same science fundamentally is what underlies our digital defense today.
So we're asking, how do we actually protect our digital lives? And what are the critical systems that help us manage when things inevitably go wrong? Our scope today is going to be pretty focused. First, we'll nail down the key terms: cybersecurity, information security, cryptology. And then we'll dive into the modern practical processes: risk management, governance, and something crucial, the human factor. Okay, let's unpack this. Foundational definitions first. When we talk about protecting the digital world, you often hear cybersecurity and information security. Are they basically the same thing, or is there a difference?
There's a subtle but important difference. Think of cybersecurity as the bigger umbrella. It's about protecting the information systems. So the actual hardware, the software, the networks, the infrastructure, the services.
The environment itself.
Exactly. Protecting it from unauthorized access, harm, misuse.
Yeah.
That includes intentional attacks like hacking, but also, accidental things. Operator error, not following procedures. It's about the whole digital environment where the data lives.
Okay, that distinction helps. So it's the machines, the networks. So then information security must be more focused inward on the data itself.
Precisely. Information security is fundamentally about preserving three core properties of the data. This is the famous CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Okay.
If you can consistently maintain those three things for your information, well, then it's considered secure. Honestly, the entire goal of pretty much every security team on the planet boils down to preserving CIA.
Right. Let's make that concrete, maybe sticky, as they say. If I think about, say, my online bank account login, how does the CIA triad apply there?
Okay, good example. Think about your password. Confidentiality means only you or systems you've authorized can see or read that password. Simple enough.
Got it.
Integrity means that nobody, not you, not anyone else, can successfully change your password or maybe your account balance without proper authorization. The data remains correct and unaltered.
Okay. Makes sense.
And availability just ensures that the bank's website is actually working, it's up, it's functional, so you can get to your account, check your balance, access your money when you need to.
That really clarifies it. Confidentiality, integrity, availability. Got it. But thinking about that, do those three goals ever clash? Like, what if an organization finds a really serious security hole, a vulnerability, and they have to patch it, but patching means taking the system offline for a bit? Doesn't that hurt availability to protect integrity?
That is a brilliant point. And yes, absolutely. That's the balancing act security professionals deal with constantly. These goals do often conflict. You might have to sacrifice a little bit of availability, take a system down temporarily for an update to ensure stronger integrity and confidentiality long term.
Ah, okay.
And that decision process, how you weigh those trade-offs, that's really a core part of risk management, which we'll get into. There are supporting ideas too, like accountability, non-repudiation, reliability. But CIA, those are the absolute pillars.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, connecting the past to now. You mentioned ancient history. Before firewalls and encryption algorithms, we had, a wooden stick?
Well, pretty much. The side tail. This brings us to cryptology, which is the science, really, of secret communication. And it breaks down into two parts: cryptography, which is making codes.
Making them?
And cryptanalysis, which is, breaking them.
Breaking them, okay.
And humans have been trying to hide messages for, basically forever, often using really simple but clever physical methods. The Greeks, as you said, used the side tail. Imagine a wooden rod. You wrap a strip of parchment or leather around it tightly.
Right.
Write your message along the length of the rod. Then you unwrap it and the letters are all jumbled.
Yeah.
It only makes sense if the recipient wraps it around another rod of the exact same diameter.
Simple, but effective for its time, I guess. And then the Romans had maybe the most famous ancient example used for military secrets.
The Caesar cipher, absolutely. Julius Caesar supposedly used it. It's a basic substitution cipher. You just shift each letter down the alphabet by a fixed number. So if you shift by 3, like Caesar often did, ROMA becomes URPD.
Easy enough if you know the shift number.
Exactly. but easy to break if you suspect that's the method.
Yeah.
Just try all 25 possible shifts.
So the real leap wasn't just making codes, but making the breaking of codes harder, moving towards actual science.
Precisely. That shift really started gaining momentum in the Middle Ages. Cryptography became a serious tool for diplomacy, for espionage. And critically, this is where cryptanalysis got formalized. There was an incredible Arab scholar, Al-Kindi, back in the 9th century.
9th century, wow.
Yeah. He wrote the first known book explaining how to break substitution ciphers using frequency analysis. Counting how often letters appear in a language. E is the most common in English, T is next, and so on.
Right, the letter frequencies.
He showed that the security of a cipher shouldn't rely on keeping the method secret, but on the mathematical difficulty of breaking it. That was huge.
That principle feels very modern. That paved the way for, well, everything since.
It did. Then you get the Renaissance, even stronger ciphers like the Vigenère cipher. Fast forward to the 19th, 20th centuries, technology changes everything. Telegraph, radio. Suddenly, sending messages securely over long distances became critical, vital in the world wars.
Yeah, you immediately think of the German Enigma machine.
Exactly. And the Allied codebreakers, like Alan Turing at Bletchley Park, their work wasn't just about breaking Enigma, Turing's mathematical insights into computation. They directly underpin the computer systems we use for cryptography today.
So the modern era is built on math and computers.
Completely. We rely on complex algorithms. Things like AES, that's the Advanced Encryption Standard. It's symmetric, meaning the same key locks and unlocks the data.
Yeah.
It's super fast and widely used. And then there's RSA. That's the big one for asymmetric or public key encryption.
Okay, pause there for a second. For our listeners maybe less familiar, why was public key encryption, like RSA, such a revolutionary step compared to, say, the Caesar cipher?
It solved a fundamental problem. With Caesar, or even Enigma, you somehow had to securely share the secret key, the shift number, or the machine settings before you could communicate securely.
Right. You needed a secure channel to share the key for your insecure channel.
Exactly. Public key cryptography gets around that. With RSA, you have two keys mathematically linked. One is public key. Anyone can have it. You use that public key to lock or encrypt the message, but only the private key, which you keep secret, can unlock or decrypt it.
Ah, so I can send you my public key over any insecure channel, like email. You use it to encrypt a message to me, and only I can read it with my private key.
Precisely. This ability to establish secure communication without pre-sharing a secret key, that's what makes modern secure internet traffic possible. Online banking, e-commerce, secure email. It all relies heavily on this. It's absolutely core to modern cyber defense.
Okay, so we've gone from wooden rods to these incredibly complex mathematical algorithms. What does this long history of needing secrecy mean for us today? Our whole society is digital now.
Well, the stakes are just immensely higher. Think about it. Our critical infrastructure runs on technology. Hospitals managing patient records and life support. Financial markets trading billions. The power grid keeping lights on. Transportation networks.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
If those systems are successfully attacked, essential services can grind to a halt. So cyber defense isn't just about protecting a company's data or profits anymore. It's absolutely fundamental to national security, to public safety, to economic stability, especially in our interconnected world.
And the sources we looked at highlight some really common ways attackers try to break in. What are the main threats we face?
Yeah, the common ones are often depressingly effective because they target weaknesses, including human ones. You have malware, which is just malicious software, viruses, worms, ransomware designed to infect systems, steal data, destroy things.
Right.
Then there's phishing. That's usually email or messages trying to trick users, social engineering, into clipping bad links or giving up their passwords or credentials. Very common.
Still very effective, unfortunately.
Sadly, yes. We also see denial of service, or DOSIS, attacks. The goal there isn't usually theft, but just overwhelming a system with traffic so legitimate users can't access it, shutting things down. And don't forget insider threats. People within an organization, employees or contractors, who misuse their legitimate access, either accidentally or maliciously.
And it's not just mischievous teenagers in basements anymore, right? The attackers are varied.
Oh, absolutely. The sources confirm the spectrum is huge. Individuals, yes. But also organized criminal groups purely motivated by profit-think ransomware gangs. And then you have highly sophisticated state-sponsored actors engaged in espionage, intellectual property theft, or even preparing for future disruption or cyber warfare. Their goals can be political, military, or economic.
So connecting this to the kind of the bigger picture international relations, cyber attacks are now a major security issue, like terrorism or climate change.
Without a doubt. It's seen as a key new domain of conflict and competition. And because of globalization, because our economies and systems are so tightly linked, a major cyber incident in one country, it can have immediate ripple effects worldwide. Think about supply chains, financial stability. So managing cyber risk isn't just a national issue, it's become an international necessity.
Okay, this leads us perfectly into the core practical topic, risk management. How do organizations actually deal with all these threats? The sources define risk pretty simply, I thought. The chance that something bad will happen to something you care about.
Yeah, it's a good, straightforward definition. It emphasizes that risk involves uncertainty, negative consequences, and value. And risk management is about being proactive, trying to understand and control that uncertainty, not just reacting after something bad happens.
So to manage risk properly, what do you actually need to figure out?
Fundamentally, you need three things. First, you need to identify the possible negative outcomes. What could go wrong, like losing customer data, system downtime, reputational damage.
Okay, the bad stuff.
Second, you need some way to estimate the possibility or likelihood of each outcome. Is it very likely, unlikely, somewhere in between?
How probable is it?
Exactly. And third, you need a method to combine those two things, the outcome and its possibility, to get an overall measure of the risk level.
Right. And that method is often boiled down to that formula. Risk, threat X, vulnerability X impact. Can you break that down?
Sure. It's a common way to model it. Vulnerability is a weakness, like using old, unpatched software or maybe weak passwords.
Okay, the weak spot.
Threat is the actor or event that might exploit that weakness. A hacker, a piece of malware, even a natural disaster, or an employee mistake.
The thing that could cause harm?
Right. Then impact is the negative effect if the threat successfully exploits the vulnerability. Data loss, financial cost, legal penalties, damage to reputation.
The consequences.
And likelihood ties into both the threat and vulnerability. How probable is it that this specific threat will exploit that specific vulnerability? You multiply these factors together, conceptually at least, to estimate the overall risk.
But that sounds abstract. How do professionals actually put numbers or values on likelihood and impact to make that formula useful? Do they use like dollar amounts?
That's where the real work of risk assessment comes in. And there are two main approaches. You can use qualitative methods that often involves ranking systems like low, medium, high for likelihood and impact. It's quicker, good for initial sorting.
Like a heat map kind of thing?
Exactly, often visualized that way. Or you can use quantitative methods. This is where you try to assign actual monetary values. What's the estimated financial cost of a data breach? You'd factor in incident response costs, potential fines, lost business, brand repair. It's harder to do accurately, but gives you a dollar figure for comparison.
I see. So you quantify the impact, assess the likelihood based on known weaknesses and threats, and that helps prioritize.
Precisely. And doing this formal assessment is crucial because, as the sources really emphasize, our human intuition about risk is often, well, skewed.
How so?
We tend to overestimate the likelihood of rare, but really dramatic, scary events. You know, the massive state-sponsored hack that takes down the national bank. We see it in the news. But we often underestimate the risk from common, mundane things like thousands of employees reusing weak passwords across multiple systems. That's often where the real cumulative risk lies for an organization.
So risk assessment helps you see the actual risk profile, not just the one that grabs headlines.
Exactly. It forces a more objective view.
Okay, so you've measured the risk. What then? This gets us into cyber defense, right? The active part.
Yes. Cyber defense is about putting measures in place, detection systems, prevention tools, and crucially, response plans. It's a continuous cycle. And to help structure all this activity, organizations usually rely on established professional frameworks.
Like NIST. I saw that mentioned.
Right. The NIST cybersecurity framework is very influential, especially in the U.S. It organizes activities into functions like identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. And their risk management framework specifically outlines steps. Prepare for the assessment, conduct it, communicate the results effectively, and then maintain it through ongoing monitoring.
And there's an international standard too, ISO. How does ISO ISC 27005 compare? Is it similar?
It covers very similar ground, following a standard risk management process.
Yeah.
Context establishment, risk assessment, identification, analysis, evaluation, and then there. It explicitly adds two very important formal steps.
Which are?
Risk treatment and risk acceptance. Treatment is deciding what you'll do about the identified risk. Will you mitigate it, like patching the software, avoid it, stop doing the risky activity, transfer it, buy insurance, or accept it?
Accept the risk.
Yes, sometimes the cost of fixing a vulnerability outweighs the potential impact, especially for low risks. But the key ISO point is risk acceptance must be a formal, documented decision, usually signed off by management. This formal acceptance is really important for governance and legal accountability, particularly in an international context.
Okay, that brings us nicely to the idea of the rule book or the overall plan. Risk governance. This isn't just the assessment process itself, but the whole system for making decisions about risk, right? Who decides and how.
Exactly. Governance sets the rules of the game. Who has authority? What's the overall risk appetite of the organization? How are decisions made and overseen? And the sources highlight different models for how this governance can work.
What are the main types?
Well, one is the technocratic model. Basically, the scientists and technical experts analyze the data and make the recommendations or decisions based purely on the technical evidence. It can be efficient.
But maybe ignores other factors.
Potentially, yes. Which leads to the decisionistic model. Here, the scientific or technical assessment provides input, but the final decision also weighs broader social, economic, or political factors. It's more of a cost-benefit analysis, often made by managers or political leaders.
Okay. And the third one?
That's often called the transparent or inclusive model. This approach tries to involve all stakeholders in the process, experts, decision makers, maybe even employees, or the public, depending on the context. It can be slower, more complex, sure. But the big advantage is it tends to build much greater understanding, consensus, and buy-in for the final decisions. People are more likely to follow security policies if they feel they were part of creating them, or at least understand the rationale.
That makes a lot of sense, because no matter which governance model you use or how good your tech is, the sources were crystal clear on one point. We can build the best firewalls, use the strongest encryption, but if we ignore the people, it all falls apart. The human factor is the weakest link.
Absolutely. It's stated again and again. Technology alone is never the complete answer. People introduce risk. They misuse tools, maybe they don't understand why a certain policy exists, they click on phishing links, they make honest mistakes, they try to find workarounds to burdensome security.
Why do people fail to follow the rules? Is it just carelessness?
The research suggests it often boils down to two main reasons. Either they are unable to comply, the rules are too complicated, the security software makes their job impossible, they lack the training.
So the system makes it hard to do the right thing.
Right. Or they do not want to comply. They perceive the rules as pointless, bureaucratic hurdles, a waste of their time, something that gets in the way of doing their real job. They don't see the value or understand the risk they might be creating.
So the answer isn't just blaming or punishing people when they make a mistake?
No, that often backfires. If people fear punishment, they hide mistakes. And if you hide mistakes, the organization can't learn from them.
So we need a different kind of culture. The sources mention a just culture. What does that mean?
A just culture is really important. It's about finding a balance between accountability and learning. It recognizes that humans make errors, and it focuses on understanding why the error occurred. Was it the system design? Lack of training? Was it reckless behavior? In a just culture, people feel psychologically safe to report errors and near misses, even their own, without fear of automatic blame or punishment, especially for honest mistakes.
Like in aviation safety reporting.
Exactly like that model. Or in healthcare. The focus shifts from who do we blame to how can we improve the system to make this less likely to happen again. This openness is crucial for building a strong, proactive security culture where everyone feels responsible and empowered to improve security rather than seeing it as someone else's problem or something to fear.
That seems incredibly important, maybe more than the tech itself. Before we wrap up, we should quickly touch on one special area mentioned, operational technology, or OT. How does risk management differ there?
Right, OT is critical. This isn't standard IT like office networks and databases. OT refers to the systems that control physical processes. Think power generation, manufacturing assembly lines, water treatment plants, pipeline controls.
Real-world physical stuff.
Exactly. And while IT security focuses primarily on protecting data, that CIA triad we talked about, confidentiality, integrity, availability, OT security often has a different top priority, safety, preventing physical harm to people, the environment, or expensive industrial equipment.
So availability and integrity might be paramount even over confidentiality sometimes. You need the safety systems to work?
Precisely. An attack that shuts down a safety system in a chemical plant or causes a generator to malfunction dangerously The consequences can be immediate and physical, potentially catastrophic. So the risk assessments, the controls, the priorities they have to be tailored very specifically to that safety-first context. It's a distinct discipline within the broader cybersecurity field. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow, okay. We've covered a huge amount of ground there. From ancient Greek code making all the way to modern risk governance and the nuances of OT safety. Let's try to boil down the key takeaways from all the sources we looked at today. What are the absolute must-remembers?
I think the first one is that risk management isn't a project you finish. It's a continuous, ongoing cycle. Assess, treat, monitor, reassess. It truly never stops because the threats and vulnerabilities are always changing.
Right, constant vigilance. Okay, what's second?
Second, and this came through so strongly, the human element. Technology matters, frameworks matter, but fostering a positive, supportive, just culture where people feel safe and responsible. That is probably the single most important factor in achieving real security success.
People overprocess, almost. Or at least people enabling the process.
Well put. And finally, maybe the most pragmatic point. You must have an incident response plan. The sources are explicit about this. It's not if you'll face a cyber attack or a major incident, it's when. Being prepared, having a plan, testing that plan, that's absolutely critical.
Assume breach, plan accordingly. Got it. That actually leads perfectly into our final provocative thought for you, our listeners, to consider. We see technology evolving at an incredible pace. AI is creating new attack methods. The Internet of Things is connecting billions of potentially insecure devices. Quantum computing threatens to break current encryption. So the question is, what new blend of skills, technical, strategic, maybe even ethical, will the next generation of security experts need to actually navigate these complex future challenges?
That's the big question, isn't it? It seems clear it won't just be about deep technical knowledge anymore. It'll be about integrating that with strategic foresight, ethical reasoning, and a real understanding of human behavior and global interconnectedness. A challenging but vital path forward.
Something to definitely think about. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.